The metal doors hissed open and two guards dragged Daeho through the narrow corridor. His feet scraped against the floor as they hauled him forward. Blood dripped from his nose, leaving a thin trail behind them. His right eye had swollen shut, and every breath sent sharp pain through his ribs. At least 3 were broken, maybe more. Another human, one guard said. His voice buzzed through a translator device. They looked so weak up close, the other guard laughed. It sounded like metal scraping on stone. Commander Hyunwoo says this one attacked a coalition patrol ship. Can you believe it? These soft things think they can fight. Daeho said nothing. He had learned that lesson already. Talking only brought more pain. Instead, he focused on breathing and remembering the route they took. Count the doors. Notice the turns. His father had taught him that. Always pay attention, even when it hurts. The guard stopped at a checkpoint where a tall insectoid creature stood behind a desk. Its compound eyes reflected the harsh white lights of the station. Captain Ralphin Daeho had heard the guards call him. The captain looked at Daeho the way someone might look at a broken tool. Another prisoner from the human colonies? Ralphin's mandibles clicked together as he spoke. Yes, Captain, the first guard replied. Cargo pilot. His ship was destroyed defending one of their settlements on the outer rim. Defending. Ralphin made a sound that might have been a laugh. These humans always talk about defending. They spread to dozens of worlds in less than 50 cycles, but they call it defending. Daeho lifted his head slightly. Through his good eye, he met the captain's gaze. Ralphin's antennae twitched. This one has spirit, the captain said. Take him to cell block 7. Block 7? The second guard sounded uncertain. That is where we keep the Karvathi. Yes. Cell 42, to be exact. Both guards went still. Even through his pain, Daeho noticed their reaction. Captain, that cell already has a prisoner. The Karvathi warrior. Felrax, I know. Ralphin turned back to his terminal. Put them together. But sir, the Karvathi will kill him in minutes. They are apex predators. This human will not survive the night. Ralphin's compound eyes glittered. Then we will have solved 2 problems. The human will be dead and the Karvathi will finally be guilty of murder on this station. We can justify harsher punishment. Commander Hyunwoo has already approved this arrangement. Daeho felt his stomach tighten. He had heard stories about the Karvathi. Every human in the outer colonies had. They were hunters from a death world even harsher than Earth, faster than humans, stronger than humans, with claws that could cut through metal. They hunted in their planet's jungles, taking down prey 3 times their size. The guards dragged him away from the checkpoint. They moved faster now, as if they wanted to finish this task quickly. Daeho tried to think. His mind felt slow from the beating, but he forced it to work. If he was going to die, he wanted to die on his feet, not on his knees. They passed other cells. Daeho saw creatures he could not name. Some pressed against the energy barriers, watching him pass. Others ignored him completely. The air smelled wrong here. Too clean, too processed. It reminded him of hospitals. I almost feel sorry for him, one guard muttered. He looks young. He should have stayed on his home planet, the other replied. Humans do not belong in the coalition. They are too aggressive, too unpredictable. This one will learn that lesson too late. They stopped at cell 42. Through the shimmering blue barrier, Daeho could see inside. The cell was larger than he expected, about 6 meters on each side. Plain metal walls, a small waste unit in one corner, and 2 sleeping platforms built into opposite walls. And in the center of the room, a Karvathi warrior. Velrax was bigger than Daeho had imagined. He stood at least 2.5 meters tall, with a body built like a panther stretched to human proportions. His skin was covered in dark scales that shifted between deep blue and black. Bioluminescent markings ran along his arms and neck, pulsing slowly with a soft purple light. His face was almost humanoid, but the jaw was stronger, built for crushing, and the claws on his hands were each as long as Daeho's fingers. The Karvathi was doing something that surprised Daeho. He was exercising smooth, controlled movements that showed perfect balance and strength. He moved like water, like violence waiting to happen. Velrax, one guard called out. You have a new cellmate. The Karvathi stopped moving. He turned slowly and his eyes locked onto Daeho. They were golden, with vertical pupils like a cat. Those eyes held intelligence. That worried Daeho more than the claws. Another test? Velrax's voice was deep and rough. You bring me prey and expect me to kill it for your entertainment? We bring you a cellmate, the guard said. What happens next is your choice. The second guard deactivated the barrier. They shoved Deho forward into the cell. He stumbled, caught himself on one knee, and felt his broken ribs grind together. White pain exploded across his chest. He bit down on his tongue to keep from crying out. The barrier reactivated behind him. The guard stood there for a moment, watching. Deho forced himself to stand. It took everything he had, but he got his feet under him and straightened up. His vision swam. Blood dripped from his chin onto the metal floor. But he stood. Velrax tilted his head, studying him. The bioluminescent marks on his neck pulsed faster. "You are human," Velrax said. It was not a question. "Yes." Deho's voice came out rough. His throat was dry. "I have heard of your kind. They say you come from a death world, but you look fragile." Velrax took a step closer. "You are already injured. This is not fair prey." "I am not prey." Deho met those golden eyes. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "Never show fear to a predator. They can smell it. They can see it. Stand your ground." Velrax's pupils narrowed. He took another step forward, then another. He moved in a slow circle around Deho like a shark circling wounded fish. Deho turned slowly to keep facing him, even though each movement hurt. "You look at me without fear," Velrax observed. "That is foolish or brave. I have not decided which. Maybe both," Deho said. "But I did not come here to fight you. I came here because I had no choice. Just like you." Velrax stopped circling. His eyes narrowed. "You know why I am here?" "No, but I know you are a prisoner, same as me. That makes the guards our common enemy." The Carvathi was silent for a long moment. His claws flexed, extended, then retracted. Finally, he turned away and walked to the far side of the cell. He sat down on one of the sleeping platforms, his back against the wall. "Stay on your side of the cell, human." "Do not test my patience," Deho nodded slowly. He made his way to the opposite platform, each step careful and measured. When he finally sat down, relief flooded through him. He let himself lean back against the cold metal wall. Outside the cell, the guards watched for a few more minutes, then walked away. Their footsteps echoed down the corridor until silence filled the space. Deho closed his good eye. He needed to think. He needed to plan. But first, he needed to breathe without his ribs screaming. He focused on taking slow, shallow breaths. Across the cell, Velrax watched him. The Carvathi's bioluminescent marks pulsed in the darkness like a slow heartbeat. Neither of them spoke. The station's artificial night cycle began, and the lights dimmed to a soft blue glow. In Cell 42, a human and a predator sat in silence, each waiting to see what the other would do. The guards had expected violence. They had expected death. They would be disappointed. The first hour passed in silence. Deho sat very still, focusing on breathing. Each breath was a careful balance between getting enough air and not moving his ribs too much. Sweat gathered on his forehead despite the cool temperature of the cell. His body wanted to lie down, to curl up and protect the injured parts, but he stayed upright, back against the wall, alert. Velrax remained motionless on his platform. Only his eyes moved, tracking every small shift Deho made. The bioluminescent marks on his body pulsed steadily, casting soft purple shadows on the walls. To Deho, it looked like the Carvathi was barely breathing, like a statue that might suddenly come alive. After another 30 minutes, Deho reached up slowly to touch his swollen eye. The flesh around it was hot and tight. He needed to reduce the swelling, but he had nothing. No ice, no medical supplies. Only his prison uniform, and that was already torn and bloody. "Why do you not rest?" Velrax's voice cut through the silence. Deho flinched, then cursed himself for showing reaction. "Broken ribs," Deho said. "Lying down makes it worse." "The guards did that to you?" "Yes." Velrax made a low rumbling sound deep in his chest. "They beat prisoners here before placing them in cells. They did the same to me when I arrived. It is meant to make us weak. Easier to control." Deho nodded carefully. "Did it work on you?" "I killed 2 guards the next day when they came to question me." Velrax's eyes gleamed. "After that, they stopped entering my cell. They ask their questions through the barrier now." "That explains why you are alone in here," Deho said. "Or why you were alone." "Yes." Velrax tilted his head. "Until they brought you. A wounded human. They expect me to kill you. I know. And yet you are calm. Most prey animals panic when they sense a predator nearby. Their hearts beat faster. They make small, frightened sounds. You do none of these things." Deho managed a small smile, though it hurt his split lip. Panicking uses energy I do not have. If you want to kill me, I cannot stop you. But I do not think you will, no? Velrax leaned forward slightly. Why not? Because you called me prey, not food. Prey is something you hunt when you are hungry or threatened. But you are neither right now. The station feeds you. And I am no threat to you. Deho paused, taking a careful breath. Also, you said it would not be fair prey. That tells me you have honor. Velrax was silent for a long moment. His claws tapped against the metal platform, making small clicking sounds. You are observant, he finally said. This is not common in prey species. Humans are not prey, Deho said quietly. We are predators too, just a different kind. Velrax's pupils widened slightly. You a predator? You have no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. You are soft and weak. We have tools. We have weapons. We have patience. Deho shifted slightly, trying to find a more comfortable position. On Earth, my homeworld, humans hunted animals much larger and stronger than us. We did not have claws, so we made spears. We did not have speed, so we chased our prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We did not have armor, so we worked in groups and attacked from all sides. Group hunting. Velrax's tone was dismissive. Pack tactics. This is what weak species do when they cannot fight alone. It works, though. Deho met his eyes. That is why humans now travel between stars. We cooperate, we adapt. We survive. Velrax stood up suddenly. The movement was fluid and fast. Deho tensed but did not move away. The Carvathi crossed the cell in 3 long strides and stood directly in front of him. Up close, he was even larger than Deho had thought. His shadow covered the entire platform. Do not move, Velrax said. Deho held completely still. His heart hammered in his chest, but he kept his breathing steady. Velrax leaned down, bringing his face close. His nostrils flared as he sniffed the air around Deho. Those golden eyes studied every detail of Deho's face. Your heart beats faster, Velrax observed. But your hands do not shake. Your eyes do not look away. You smell of fear, yes, but also of determination. He straightened up. Strange. What is strange? Deho asked. Prey should submit or flee. Rival predators should challenge or attack. You do neither. What are you? Practical, Deho said. I know I cannot beat you in a fight right now. Maybe not ever. But that does not mean I will roll over and die. If you attack me, I will fight back as best I can. I might lose, but I will make it hurt for you too. Velrax's bioluminescent marks pulsed brighter for a moment. Then, to Deho's surprise, the Carvathi laughed. It was a harsh barking sound. You threaten me while sitting broken against a wall. You truly are from a death world. Velrax turned and walked back to his platform. I will not kill you, human. You interest me. It has been boring here with no one to talk to. Deho felt tension drain from his shoulders. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. We share this cell now. If you prove annoying, I may change my mind. Hours passed. The artificial day cycle returned, and the lights gradually brightened. Deho dozed occasionally but never fully slept. Each time he started to drift off, pain from his ribs pulled him back. His mouth was dry, his tongue thick. He had not had water since before his capture. A slot in the wall near the door suddenly opened. A metal cup slid through, then another. Water rations. Velrax moved first, taking 1 cup and drinking it in a single gulp. He looked at the second cup, then at Deho. Deho pushed himself to his feet. Each movement was agony, but he forced his legs to work. He took 2 steps toward the water, then his vision blurred. His legs gave out. He started to fall. Velrax caught him. One large hand grabbed Deho's arm, holding him upright. Deho gasped at the sudden movement, pain shooting through his chest. You are more injured than you show, Velrax said. He guided Deho to sit against the wall near the water slot. Then he picked up the second cup and placed it in Deho's hands. Drink slowly. Deho wanted to gulp it down. His body screamed for water, but he sipped it instead, letting each mouthful settle. The water was lukewarm and tasted metallic, but it was the best thing he had ever tasted. Thank you, he said again. Velrax grunted. You would have died trying to reach it. Your death would bring the guards. They would ask questions. It would be annoying. Deho smiled slightly. Of course, practical. Yes. Velrax sat down nearby, close enough to talk without shouting. Tell me about Earth. If you are truly from a death world, I want to know what made you. So Deho told him. He talked about Earth's changing seasons, about deserts and tundras and jungles. He described storms that could tear buildings apart. earthquakes that reshaped continents and volcanoes that blocked out the sun. He talked about humans living in all these places, not just surviving but thriving. Velrax listened with intense focus. He asked questions. How did humans survive without fur in the cold? How did they hunt without claws? What did they do when stronger predators threatened them? Deho answered each question. He explained clothing and fire. He described tools and weapons. He talked about humans domesticating wolves into dogs, turning predators into partners. You bond with other species? Velrax sounded shocked. Willingly? Yes, dogs, cats, horses. Some humans even bond with birds or lizards. We like making friends. Velrax tested the word. Karvathi do not have friends. We have rivals and prey. Nothing else? That sounds lonely, Deho said quietly. Velrax was silent. His bioluminescent marks pulsed slowly. Outside the cell, footsteps echoed in the corridor. Both of them turned toward the sound, but the footsteps passed by without stopping. Why are you here? Deho asked. What did you do to get captured? Velrax's eyes darkened. I defended my hunting territory. The Coalition wanted to build a mining station there. I refused. They sent soldiers, I fought. I killed 3 before they overwhelmed me with numbers and stun weapons. So you were defending your home, Deho said. Same as me. I was protecting a colony when they captured me. Velrax looked at him sharply. You fought for others, not your own territory? They were my people. That makes it my territory. Your people, Velrax repeated slowly. Pack members. Yes. Velrax stood and walked to the far wall. He placed one hand against the metal, claws scraping slightly. I begin to understand. You humans think differently than Karvathi. You extend your territory to include others. You make allies of different species. You cooperate even when alone would be simpler. That is how we survived, Deho said. Alone, humans are weak. Together, we are strong. Velrax turned back to face him. The expression on his face was hard to read, but his bioluminescent marks were pulsing in a faster rhythm. Perhaps, he said slowly. The guards made a mistake putting us together. Perhaps they should have kept us apart. Deho felt cold. What do you mean? They thought I would kill you instead. Velrax showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. Instead, I'm learning. 2 days passed in the cell. Deho's injuries began to heal, though slowly. The swelling around his eye went down enough that he could see through both eyes again. His ribs still hurt with every breath, but the sharp pain had dulled to a constant ache. He could move more easily now, could stand and walk without feeling like he might collapse. Velrax watched this recovery with obvious interest. On the second morning, he had said something that surprised Deho. Your species heals quickly for having such soft bodies. Not as fast as some species, Deho replied. He was doing gentle stretches, trying to keep his muscles from getting stiff. But yes, humans recover well from injuries. It is part of how we evolved. We got hurt often, so our bodies learned to fix themselves efficiently. On my world, injured hunters usually die, Velrax said. He was lying on his platform, hands behind his head, watching Deho. If you cannot hunt, you cannot eat. If you cannot eat, you weaken. Then other predators smell the weakness. That sounds harsh. It is survival. Velrax's marks pulsed slowly. Only the strong continue. The weak become food. This is natural law. Deho stopped stretching. He turned to face the Karvathi. But you were strong and you still ended up here. Strength alone was not enough. Velrax's eyes narrowed. Careful, human. I mean no insult, Deho said quickly. I am making a point. You fought Coalition soldiers and killed 3 of them. But they had numbers, technology, and strategy. They won not because they were stronger, but because they worked together. Velrax sat up slowly. You speak of pack tactics again. Because they work. 1 Karvathi versus 1 soldier, you win every time. 1 Karvathi versus 10 soldiers with stun weapons and a plan, you lose. It is simple math. Math. Velrax sounded disgusted. Battle is not math. It is skill, speed, and strength. It is all of those things, Deho agreed. But it is also strategy. When 10 humans fight, they are not just 10 individuals. They become something greater. Each one covers the weaknesses of the others. They communicate, coordinate, adapt. That is why humans conquered Earth despite being weaker than bears, slower than cheetahs, and smaller than elephants. Velrax was silent for a long time. His claws tapped against the metal platform in a steady rhythm. Finally, he spoke. Karvathi do not fight in groups. It is seen as cowardice. A true warrior fights alone and wins alone. What happens when you face an enemy you cannot beat alone? Then you die with honor. Deho sat down, shaking his head. That seems wasteful. You lose a skilled warrior and the enemy grows stronger. How does your species survive? We survive because we are the apex predators of our world, Velrak said. His voice held pride. No creature challenges us in lives. Except the Coalition, Deho pointed out gently. They challenged you. They took your territory. They captured you. Velrax's bioluminescent marks flared brightly. He surged to his feet and for a moment Deho thought he had pushed too far. But Velrax did not attack. Instead he paced the cell like a caged animal, all that dangerous grace barely contained in the small space. You speak painful truths, human. I speak what I see, Deho said, and I see two warriors who fought for their homes and lost because the Coalition has something we do not. Numbers, resources, unity. Velrax stopped pacing. He turned to look at Deho, head tilted. We, Deho confirmed. You and me. Both prisoners. Both defeated by the same enemy. I am nothing like you, Velrax growled. No, Deho agreed. You are faster, stronger, more deadly in combat. But we are both here in this cell. We are both victims of the Coalition's expansion. That makes us allies, whether we like it or not. The food slot opened. 2 meal trays slid through. They were small portions, barely enough for one person, let alone two. Velrax moved toward them instantly, but then stopped. He looked at the trays, then at Deho, then back at the trays. Deho stood slowly and walked to the slot. He picked up both trays, examined them, then divided the contents evenly. He kept half and offered the other to Velrax. What are you doing? Velrax asked, sharing. We both need to eat. You would give half your food to me? I could simply take all of it. Deho met his eyes steadily. Yes, you could. And then I would starve. I would grow weak. Eventually I would die, and you would be alone in this cell again, with no one to talk to, no one to help you think of a way out. Is that what you want? Velrax stared at the offered food. His expression shifted through several emotions Deho could not quite read. Finally, he took the tray. You are a strange creature, Velrax said. Trusting, foolish. Maybe, Deho said, sitting down with his portion. Or maybe I understand something you do not. They ate in silence. The food was tasteless protein paste and what might have been vegetables, though Deho could not identify them. But it was energy and his body needed it. He ate slowly, making each bite last. When they finished, Velrax spoke again. What is it that you understand? That trust has to start somewhere, Deho said. You could have killed me the first day. You did not. You could have taken all the food. You did not. Every time you make that choice, it becomes a little easier to trust you. And every time I share with you, maybe it becomes a little easier for you to trust me. Karvathi do not trust. Then maybe it is time to learn. Velrax laughed, that harsh barking sound. You want to teach a Karvathi warrior about trust? You're either very brave or very stupid. Definitely some of both, Deho admitted with a small smile. The day cycle continued. They talked more, long conversations that filled the empty hours. Velrax told stories of his homeworld, of hunts in jungles so thick that sunlight barely penetrated. He described trees that grew kilometers high, rivers that ran red with mineral deposits, and storms that could strip flesh from bone. Deho shared stories of Earth in return. He talked about oceans so vast you could sail for weeks without seeing land. He described mountains that touched the clouds, deserts where nothing lived for hundreds of kilometers, and cities where millions of humans lived packed together. Millions? Velrax sounded shocked. In one place? How do you not kill each other? Sometimes we do, Deho said honestly. Humans fight. We have wars. But we also have laws, governments, systems that help us live together. It is not perfect, but it works most of the time. My people would go mad in such crowded conditions. We adapt. It is what humans do best. As night cycle approached and the lights dimmed, something changed in their cell. The air felt different, heavier. Deho noticed Velrax's marks pulsing in an irregular pattern. Something wrong? Deho asked. The guards have not checked on us today, Velrax said quietly. Usually they pass by at least 3 times. Today, nothing. Deho felt cold. What does that mean? It means they are planning something. Velrax stood and moved to the energy barrier. He studied it carefully, looking for any changes. They grow impatient. They expected violence and death. Instead, we talk and share food. This angers them. What will they do? Force us to fight. Reduce our rations until we are desperate enough to turn on each other, or... Velrax's eyes narrowed. Or they will enter the cell themselves to create conflict. Can we stop them? No. Velrax turned to face him. But we can choose how we respond. Tell me, human. If the guards attack you, what will you do? Deho thought about it. His father's voice echoed in his mind again. Lessons from childhood. I will defend myself as best I can. I will try to survive. And if they attack me? That was a harder question. Deho looked at the Karvathi warrior, at the creature who could have killed him but chose conversation instead. Who shared food and stories, who was in a strange way becoming something like a friend. I would help you, Deho said finally, if I could. Velrax's bioluminescent marks flared bright, then settled into a steady rhythmic pulse. Even though I am not human? Even though we only met days ago? Yes, why? Because you did not kill me when you could have. Because you caught me when I fell. Because you listen when I speak and share your own stories. Deho stood and walked closer to the barrier where Velrax stood. Because in this place you are the closest thing I have to an ally. And humans protect their allies. Velrax was quiet for a long moment. Then he placed one clawed hand on his chest over where his heart would be. It was clearly some kind of gesture, though Deho did not know what it meant. On my world, Velrax said slowly, we have a concept. It does not translate well. The closest word in your language would be pack-kin. It means someone who hunts beside you who you trust to watch your back. Karvathi rarely use this term because we rarely find anyone worthy of it. And now? Deho asked quietly. Now I think I begin to understand why humans conquered their world despite being weak. Velrax's eyes gleamed in the dim light. You turn enemies into allies. You make pack-kin from strangers. This is a power greater than claws or fangs. A sound echoed down the corridor. Footsteps, many of them. Heavy boots striking metal in synchronized rhythm. Both Deho and Velrax turned toward the door. They come, Velrax said. His voice was calm, but his muscles tensed. Are you ready, human? Deho's heart pounded, but he nodded. Ready! The footsteps grew louder. The energy barrier flickered and died. 4 guards stepped into the cell. They wore full combat armor and carried shock batons that crackled with blue electricity. Deho recognized the one in front. He had been there when they threw Deho into the cell. Disappointing, the lead guard said. His voice was harsh through his helmet speakers. We expected blood. We expected a corpse. Instead, we find you two talking like old friends. Velrax said nothing. He stood perfectly still, a statue of coiled violence. Deho could see the Karvathi's muscles tensing beneath his scales, preparing for action. Commander Hyunwoo is very displeased, another guard said. He paid good credits to watch the human die, but you have robbed him of his entertainment, Karvathi. Perhaps the human is already dead inside, the third guard suggested. Perhaps we should check. He moved toward Deho, baton raised. Deho backed up a step, hands coming up in a defensive posture. His ribs were healing but still weak. A direct hit with that baton would break them again or worse. The guard lunged forward, swinging the baton at Deho's head. Deho ducked under the swing, pain flaring through his chest from the sudden movement. The baton passed over him, crackling with energy. He kept moving, trying to circle away from the wall to keep space between himself and the guard. Then Velrax moved. It was so fast Deho almost missed it. One moment the Karvathi was standing still. The next he was between Deho and the guard. His hand shot out and caught the guard's wrist, stopping the baton mid-swing. No, Velrax growled. The other 3 guards reacted instantly. One jabbed his baton into Velrax's side. Electricity arced across the Karvathi's body. Velrax roared in pain but did not let go of the first guard's wrist. His grip tightened and there was a crack as bones broke. The guard screamed, "Subdue the Karvathi!" The lead guard shouted. 2 of them rushed forward, batons raised. Deho saw the guard he had been fighting stumble back, clutching his broken wrist. The shock baton fell from his hand, clattering on the floor. Without thinking, Deho lunged for it. His ribs screamed in protest, but adrenaline drowned out the pain. His fingers closed around the weapon. The lead guard saw him grab the baton. He turned away from Velrax, eyes locked on Deho. "You dare?" He charged at Deho, his own baton raised high. Deho did not have time to think. His father's training took over. lessons drilled into him since childhood. When a larger opponent charges, you do not meet force with force. You use their momentum against them. Daeho waited until the guard was almost on him, then sidestepped at the last instant. He swung the baton low, striking the back of the guard's knee. The guard's leg buckled. He fell forward, crashing into the wall with a metallic clang. Before he could recover, Daeho brought the baton down on the back of his helmet. Once, twice. The third strike shorted out the helmet systems, and the guard went limp. Daeho spun around, breathing hard. His vision blurred at the edges, but he forced himself to focus. Velrax was fighting the other two guards. Even wounded, even shocked by the batons, the Karvathi was a storm of violence. His claws raked across armor, leaving deep gouges. His tail whipped out, striking one guard in the head and sending him sprawling. But there were two of them, and they were coordinating their attacks. One would strike while the other defended. They were wearing Velrax down, making him bleed from a dozen small cuts where their batons had connected. Daeho ran forward, ignoring the pain in his chest. He swung his baton at the nearest guard, hitting him in the side. The guard grunted and turned to face this new threat. That moment of distraction was all Velrax needed. His claws found the gap between the guard's helmet and chest plate. The guard went down. The last guard standing looked at his three fallen comrades. His hand moved to the communication device on his belt. Velrax and Daeho moved at the same time. Velrax tackled him from one side while Daeho grabbed his arm from the other. They dragged him down together. The guard fought, but he was 1 against 2. Velrax's fist, powered by muscle and fury, crashed into the guard's helmet. The guard stopped moving. Silence filled the cell. Daeho and Velrax stood there, breathing hard, staring at each other over the unconscious bodies. Blood dripped from Velrax's wounds. Daeho's ribs felt like they were on fire again. "You fought beside me," Velrax said. His voice was filled with something like wonder. "You protected me." "You protected me first," Daeho replied. "I just returned the favor." Velrax looked down at the guards, then back at Daeho. His bioluminescent marks were pulsing rapidly, brighter than Daeho had ever seen them. "We fought together. As Pakkin, yes." Daeho nodded, then winced as the movement pulled at his ribs.
"Yes, we did." An alarm began to wail.
Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. More footsteps echoed, these ones running, many of them. "They will send reinforcements," Velrax said. "Many guards. We cannot fight them all." Daeho looked at the cell's open door, then at the guards on the floor. One of them was groaning, starting to regain consciousness. The guard whose wrist Velrax had broken was curled on his side, whimpering. "We need to move them," Daeho said. "What?" Velrax looked confused. "Why? They attacked us." "Let them suffer." "Because more guards are coming. When they see their people lying in the corridor, they will come in shooting to kill. But if we move them to the corner, if we show we are not trying to escape." Daeho met Velrax's eyes. "It might buy us time. It might keep us alive. You care about keeping them alive, after they tried to kill you?" "I care about surviving," Daeho said. "And right now showing mercy might be the smartest move." Velrax stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. "Your species thinks in strange ways, but you have not been wrong yet." Together they dragged the 4 unconscious guards to the corner of the cell away from the door. Daeho checked each one. All were alive, just knocked out. The one with the broken wrist needed medical attention, but he would survive. Velrax watched as Daeho tore strips from the guards' uniforms and used them to bandage the worst injuries. "You heal those who tried to hurt you. I keep them from dying," Daeho corrected. "There is a difference. If they die, we become murderers. The Coalition will execute us. If they live, we can claim self-defense." "More human thinking," Velrax said. But he helped, using his claws to cut the fabric into strips. When they finished, both of them were exhausted. Daeho's hands were shaking. Velrax's wounds had stopped bleeding, but he moved more slowly now. They walked back to their sleeping platforms and sat down, their backs against the wall. The footsteps in the corridor grew louder. Many boots moving in formation. Military precision. Daeho could hear commands being shouted, the whine of weapons charging. "They will come in ready to kill us," Velrax said quietly. "Probably." Daeho agreed. "We could fight. We would lose." "Yes." Velrax's marks pulsed slowly. "But we would die as warriors." Daeho thought about that. He thought about his family back on Earth, about the colony he had tried to protect. He thought about never seeing them again. The thought hurt more than his broken ribs. "I do not want to die today," Deho said. "Not here. Not like this." "Neither do I," Velrax admitted. "But I see no other path." Then we wait. We show no aggression. We put down the batons. Deho tossed his captured weapon toward the door. After a moment, Velrax did the same. We let them see the guards are alive. We cooperate, and if they shoot us anyway, then we die knowing we tried everything we could. Velrax made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are either the wisest creature I've ever met or the most foolish. I still have not decided which." "Me neither," Deho said. The footsteps stopped outside their cell. Deho could see shadows moving beyond the doorway, hear the crackle of energy weapons powering up. He forced himself to sit still, to keep his hands visible, to look non-threatening despite everything in his body screaming to run or fight. Beside him, Velrax did the same. The predator who could tear through armor sat calmly, his dangerous claws resting on his knees, his golden eyes reflecting the red alarm lights. Commands were shouted. Orders given. The shadow shifted, and then Captain Ralthan appeared in the doorway. His insectoid body was covered in combat armor, and a plasma rifle was gripped in his multiple hands. Behind him, at least 20 guards stood ready to fire. Ralthan's compound eyes swept the cell. He saw the 4 unconscious guards in the corner, bandaged and breathing. He saw the 2 batons lying near the door. He saw Deho and Velrax sitting calmly on their platforms, making no move to attack or escape. "What?" Ralthan's antennae twitched in confusion. "What happened here?" "Self-defense," Deho said clearly. "Your guards attacked us without provocation. We defended ourselves. Then we made sure they would not die. We are now surrendering peacefully." Ralthan looked at Velrax. "Is this true?" "Yes," Velrax said simply. The captain's mandibles clicked together rapidly, a sign of confusion or distress in his species. He lowered his rifle slightly and spoke into his communication device. "Medical team to cell block 7. 4 guards down, non-critical injuries." He stepped into the cell, his guards following. They moved to the unconscious guards, checking them quickly. One looked up at Ralthan. "They are all alive, sir. Injuries consistent with close combat but properly treated. Someone stopped the bleeding and stabilized them." Ralthan turned to look at Deho and Velrax again. His eyes were hard to read, but his body language spoke of utter confusion. "You saved them," he said. "After they attacked you, you saved them?" "Yes," Deho replied. "Why?" Deho met his compound eyes steadily. "Because that is what humans do. We fight when we must. We defend ourselves. But we do not kill when we do not have to." Velrax spoke up. "And I helped because the human is pack-kin. What he does, I do." The guards around them exchanged glances. Several weapons lowered slightly. Captain Ralthan stood frozen, his mind clearly trying to process what he was seeing. Finally, he spoke into his communicator again. "Stand down. Secure the cell, but do not engage the prisoners. I need to report this to the Coalition Council." He turned and walked out. The guards remained, weapons still raised but fingers off the triggers. They surrounded Deho and Velrax but did not approach. The exhaustion that Deho had been fighting finally crashed over him like a wave. His eyes felt heavy. Beside him, Velrax swayed slightly, his wounds taking their toll. Without discussing it, both of them slowly lay down on their platforms, too tired to care about the guards watching them. "We survived," Velrax murmured. "We did," Deho agreed. "Pack-kin." "Yes." And with armed guards surrounding them, with alarms still wailing in the distance, both the human and the Karvathi closed their eyes and fell into exhausted sleep. Captain Ralthan stood in the security office watching the monitor feed from cell 42. On the screen, a human and a Karvathi slept. The human lay curled on his side, one arm wrapped around his injured ribs. The Karvathi had shifted in his sleep, moving closer to the human's platform. His larger body formed a protective curve around the smaller human like a shield. "This should not be possible," Commander Hyunwoo said from beside him. The human collaborator's voice was angry. "The Karvathi should have killed him within hours. That was the plan." "Your plan," Ralthan corrected coldly. "I went along with it because I thought it would solve the problem of both prisoners. Instead, we have 4 injured guards and 2 prisoners who fought together like trained battle partners. They got lucky." "Lucky?" Ralthan turned his compound eyes toward the commander. "Watch the security footage again. The way they moved, the way they coordinated without speaking. That was not luck. That was instinct. The human protected the Carvathi. The Carvathi protected the human. And then, most disturbing of all, they saved the lives of the guards who attacked them. Hyunwoo's face twisted. Daeho is a traitor to his own kind, working with an alien predator. Or perhaps, Ralthan said slowly, he is exactly what humans claim to be, a species that makes allies of anyone, anywhere, no matter how different. He turned back to the monitors. The medical team had come and gone an hour ago, taking the 4 guards. All would recover fully. The one called Jiwon had insisted on speaking to Ralthan before being taken for treatment. What he said had troubled the captain deeply. They could have killed us, Jiwon had said, his young face pale with pain and shame. We attacked them to provoke a fight. We beat the human when he first arrived. We have given them every reason to hate us. But when they won, they bandaged our wounds. They saved us. Now Ralthan watched the sleeping prisoners and wondered what he had missed about humans. The coalition had thought them weak. Aggressive, yes. Expansionist, certainly, but weak in body, lacking the natural weapons and defenses of true predators. But maybe that was wrong. Maybe humans were something else entirely. A priority message appeared on his terminal. Ralthan opened it, his antennae rising in surprise. A diplomatic delegation has entered coalition space. Human representatives requesting prisoner exchanges. So soon? Hyunwoo looked worried. How did they know about Daeho's capture? Apparently they did not. They are negotiating for multiple prisoners across several facilities. But when they learn one of their people is here, Ralthan's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. This complicates matters. Execute them both before the delegation arrives, Hyunwoo said quickly. Claim they tried to escape. No one will question it. Ralthan turned on him. You would make me a murderer? After they saved lives? After they showed more honor than our own guards? His voice turned cold. Get out of my office, Commander, and consider your position here carefully. The coalition values honor. You seem to have forgotten that. Hyunwoo left, slamming the door behind him. Ralthan returned his attention to the monitors. As he watched, the human stirred in his sleep, making a pained sound. Immediately the Carvathi's eyes opened. Velrax lifted his head, checking on Daeho. When the human settled back into sleep, Velrax relaxed but remained awake, watching over his cellmate. Pack behavior. The Carvathi, a species famous for being solitary hunters, was exhibiting pack behavior, protecting a member of another species. Ralthan had studied xenobiology for 30 cycles, and he had never seen anything like it. Another message arrived, this one from the Carvathi homeworld. A delegation was also en route demanding Velrax's release, 2 diplomatic teams arriving within days of each other. The timing was suspicious. Ralthan made a decision. He opened a communication channel to the Coalition Council and began his report. He told them everything. The failed plan to have the prisoners kill each other, the fight with the guards, the mercy shown, and his recommendation. Release them both to their respective peoples. Use this as a gesture of goodwill. The alternative is making martyrs of 2 warriors who have done nothing but defend themselves. The council's response would take hours. In the meantime, Ralthan had another message to send. He composed it carefully, then transmitted it to the human diplomatic vessel. The next morning, when Daeho and Velrax woke, a different set of guards brought their morning rations. These guards were respectful, keeping their distance but not hostile. They delivered twice the normal food portion without comment. Daeho sat up slowly, wincing. His ribs had stiffened overnight. Beside him, Velrax stretched, his wounds from yesterday's fight visible but already starting to heal. Carvathi healing was faster than human, another adaptation from their brutal homeworld. Something has changed, Velrax observed. The guards act differently? Yes, Daeho agreed. He accepted his food tray and examined it. Real food this time, not just protein paste. Actual meat, vegetables, even something that might have been fruit. They are treating us better, but I do not know why. They ate in comfortable silence. Over the past days, they had learned when to talk and when to simply exist together. It was strange how quickly Daeho had adapted to having a Carvathi warrior as a companion. Velrax no longer frightened him. Instead, there was trust. Friendship, even. Tell me about your family, Velrax said suddenly. Daeho looked up, surprised. Why? Because if we die here, I want to know what you leave behind. It is a Carvathi custom. We honor the dead by remembering what they cared about. We are not dead yet, Deho said with a slight smile. But he told Velrax anyway. About his parents, farmers on a colony world. About his younger sister who wanted to be a doctor. About his dream of saving enough money to buy his own ship. To be his own captain instead of just a cargo pilot for hire. Velrax listened intently, then shared his own stories. He spoke of his clan, scattered across their homeworld's massive jungle territories. Of his mother, a legendary hunter who had taken down a mountain tiger alone. Of his own ambition to prove himself worthy of his family name. I thought the mining station was my chance, Velrax said quietly. I thought if I defended the territory, showed strength, my clan would respect me. Instead, I ended up here. You showed plenty of strength, Deho said. You killed 3 coalition soldiers. That is not easy, and yet I still lost. Strength was not enough. Maybe next time you will have pack-kin to fight beside you. Velrax's bioluminescent marks pulsed warmly. Yes, perhaps I will. Hours later, the cell's energy barrier deactivated. Captain Ralthan entered, this time without guards. He carried a datapad and looked tired. I have news, he said without preamble. The Coalition Council has reviewed your case. They have decided to release you both. Deho felt his heart jump. Release? To where? A human diplomatic delegation has negotiated prisoner exchanges. They will arrive in 2 days. You, Deho, will be released to their custody. And me? Velrax asked. A delegation from your homeworld is also coming. Your eldest brother Korvan leads it. He demands your release as well. Deho should have felt relief. Joy, even. He was going home. But when he looked at Velrax, all he felt was a strange sadness. They would be separated, sent to different worlds. The pack-kin bond they had formed would be broken. Velrax's expression mirrored his own thoughts. When do we leave? The human delegation arrives first. 2 days from now. The Karvathi delegation arrives 3 days after that. Ralthan paused. I have included in my report what happened in this cell. How you fought together. How you showed mercy. The council is troubled by it. Humans were supposed to be weak. Karvathi were supposed to be incapable of cooperation. Yet here you are, proving all our assumptions wrong. Assumptions are dangerous things, Deho said quietly. Yes. Ralthan's antennae twitched. I am beginning to learn that. I have also learned that honor is not limited to one species. You both showed more honor than many of my own guards. He left without another word. The barrier reactivated. Deho and Velrax looked at each other. 2 days, Velrax said. Yes. And then you leave. Yes. Velrax stood and began to pace. His tail swished behind him in agitation. This is wrong. Pack-kin should not be separated. I know, Deho said. But what choice do we have? There is always a choice. Velrax stopped pacing and turned to face him. Among my people, when a Karvathi forms pack-kin bonds with another, they may invoke bonding rights. It means the pack-kin is considered part of the clan, entitled to the same protections and obligations. But I am not Karvathi. No. But the law does not specify species. It is ancient, from before my people knew there were others in the stars. Velrax's eyes gleamed. If I invoke this right before my brother, you could claim asylum with the Karvathi. You would be under clan protection. Deho felt hope and fear war inside him, but that would mean leaving my own people. Or, Velrax said slowly, I could ask to go with you, to the human colonies, to claim asylum with your people. Would your brother allow that? I do not know. But I know that I do not wish to return to a life of solitary hunting. You have shown me something different, something better. Pack-kin, cooperation, fighting together instead of alone. Velrax sat down across from Deho. I want to learn more. I want to understand how humans make allies of everyone they meet. How you turn enemies into friends. Deho thought about it. A Karvathi warrior joining human colonies. It seemed impossible. But then again, a week ago, the idea of befriending a Karvathi had seemed impossible too. If you come with me, Deho said carefully, it will not be easy. Many humans fear the Karvathi. You will have to prove yourself. I am not afraid of proving myself. You will be the first Karvathi to live among humans. There are no guidelines, no rules for how this works. Then we make new rules. Velrax's marks pulsed brightly. That is what pack-kin do, yes? They adapt. They find solutions together. Deho smiled. Yes, that is exactly what we do. The 2 days passed quickly. They spent the time teaching each other. Daeho taught Velrax basic human customs, how to greet people without seeming threatening, how to control his predator instincts in social situations. Velrax taught Daeho Karvathi hunting techniques, how to move silently despite injuries, how to read body language across species. When the human delegation arrived, Daeho and Velrax were brought to a large conference room. Captain Ralthan was there along with several coalition officials. And on the other side of the table, 3 humans in diplomatic uniforms, one of them a woman named Su-Jin with sharp eyes and graying hair, stepped forward. Daeho, we have negotiated your release. You are free to return to human space. Thank you, Daeho said. Then he took a deep breath. But I have a request. My cellmate Velrax of the Karvathi wishes to come with me. He wants to claim asylum in human territory. The room erupted in shocked voices. Su-Jin's eyes widened. Karvathi? Seeking asylum with humans? Yes. Velrax stepped forward, standing beside Daeho. This human is my pack-kin. Where he goes, I go. Pack-kin? One of the coalition officials sounded confused. Karvathi do not form packs. This one does, Velrax said simply. Su-Jin looked between them, her mind clearly racing. Then she smiled slightly. This is unprecedented. We will need to discuss it with our superiors, but... She glanced at the coalition officials. I see no reason why it cannot be approved, assuming all parties agree. 3 days later, when Korvan and the Karvathi delegation arrived, there was another tense negotiation. Velrax's brother was a massive warrior, scarred from countless hunts. He listened as Velrax explained his decision. You would leave your clan? Your homeworld? For a human? Not for a human, Velrax corrected. For pack-kin. For something I did not know I was missing until I found it. He met his brother's eyes. You taught me to honor strength. I have found a new kind of strength. The strength of cooperation, the strength of friendship, and I wish to explore it. Korvan was silent for a long time. His claws drummed against the table. Finally he spoke. If this is your choice, I will not stop you. But know this, my brother. You are not leaving the clan. You are extending it. You will be the first Karvathi to walk among humans as a friend, not a warrior. Do not fail. Do not bring shame to our family name. I will not, Velrax promised. And so it was decided. Papers were signed, agreements made. Daeho and Velrax left the station together on the human diplomatic ship. As they boarded, Su-Jin pulled Daeho aside. What you two have done here, it is bigger than you realize. A human and a Karvathi, forming genuine friendship, working together. This could change everything between our species. We just wanted to survive, Daeho said. Yes. And in doing so, you might have started something revolutionary. In the ship's medical bay, a human doctor named Minsu treated Daeho's ribs while a xenobiologist examined Velrax's healing wounds with fascination. The 2 doctors worked together, comparing notes, amazed at how differently but effectively both species healed. That night, in the ship's common area, Daeho and Velrax sat together watching the stars stream past the viewports. They were free. They were together. And ahead of them lay an uncertain but hopeful future. What happens now? Velrax asked. Daeho smiled. Now we heal, we rest. And then we show the galaxy what happens when humans make friends. Velrax's bioluminescent marks pulsed in rhythm, the Karvathi equivalent of laughter. The coalition will not know what hit them. No, Daeho agreed. They will not. 3 months later, reports began to circulate through coalition space. A joint human Karvathi military unit had been formed, led by a cargo pilot named Daeho and a warrior named Velrax. They combined human strategy with Karvathi ferocity, human technology with Karvathi hunting instincts. They were effective in ways that shocked military analysts across dozens of worlds, and they were just the beginning. More Karvathi began seeking contact with humans. More humans learned to see the Karvathi not as monsters, but as potential allies. The prison station where it all began became famous, a symbol of how 2 species could overcome fear and mistrust. Captain Ralthan kept the security footage from Cell 42. Sometimes late at night he would watch it again, the moment when a human and a Karvathi chose cooperation over violence, when they saved their enemies instead of killing them, when they fell asleep side by side, too exhausted to care about species differences. The guards had expected death, They found friendship instead. And that friendship changed the galaxy.